Good afternoon, everybody. We are here for the first PDOCS live stream of 2025. So, again, same time, same bad channel every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Obviously with a little break in the holidays. This is our first one here again in 2025. And next week, we kick off our first episode with an expert guest speaker, which I will be dropping a post about this coming Monday or Tuesday to give you guys some information. But really excited about this guest, and it's going to be a heck of a way to kick off and to exemplify the caliber of people I want to have on our live stream series, and I want to bring to you guys for for these live stream series episodes, for the value we can provide, for the amount of expertise. And guys, I always love to get feedback from you on, what you're struggling with, what would help you the most, what type of guests, what type of offers, what type of challenges do I want people to come on that they've already, dealt with and overcome those and can really steer us around that learning curve, right, of the whole trial and error, which is a lot of this whole business, right? This whole, online digital marketing space is really a lot of trial and error, which is why everybody has these high ticket programs or low ticket programs. Doesn't really matter. It's to get you from A to B. It's to overcome this problem. It's to get this many more clients. It's to get this much more revenue, right? A bit of all those things. Excuse me 1 minute. I had a piece of gum in my mouth I had to take out while I want to keep talking. But yeah, guys, really what I wanted to dive into here is very similar to how I've kicked off the last 2 years since I've been doing these live streams very consistently. And that's with a review of 2024 from my perspective. All things there, lessons learned, goals achieved, maybe things we didn't accomplish, the amount of clients we are working with, the different programs we have, the results we saw, the changes in the landscape here in the internet marketing space, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to dive into some of that, and then I'm going to go into kind of a 2025 preview, at least what I have set. I'll be very honest, and I think everybody should kind of look at it this way. At the beginning of the year, I set what I would call soft goals for the full year, but I set hard goals quarterly. So my goal for the end of 25 very well may change by quarter 2, quarter 3, all in all. But, quarter 1 and going into Q2's goals, objectives, and all that is really already laid out. That's not going to change very much. But year-end goals, I've noticed sometimes I sell myself short. Sometimes I get a little over ambitious, and you got to use the right data and feedback to optimize. The one image on the screen here that I'm sharing as I'm talking, and before I kind of dive into what I want to go over today, is everything that goes into the PDOCS method that we use in all of our businesses. This is what's now grown Audience Lab to a 7-figure plus annual, going on, I believe we will be an 8-figure annual business by year's end 2025. But already over 7 figures in annual revenue. PDOCS has hit that 7-figure threshold multiple years. And then, of course, we've dropped the pricing, so I don't think we're hitting those same revenue thresholds, but we're still serving a lot of clients and delivering that high caliber content and, frameworks and really strategies and approaches that help the PDOCS method stand out, which is why, we have hundreds, if not now, we have over 3,000 students and clients come through this stuff. We've had a lot of big other trainers and big names that have bought our stuff and gone through our stuff and have kind of implemented it into their system, have taught it to others. You guys know from watching some of these, unless you guys are all brand new on this one, that I've filmed tutorials and modules with my PDOCS outreach methods, my PDOCS organic, for some of the other big hitters in this space that have reached out to me and said, hey, Ray, I feel like you guys do this a little better. Would you mind shooting some modules for my students and I'll repay you by X or whatever? And we work out mutually beneficial partnership agreements where it's a benefit for me, it's a benefit for him. More importantly, those are only effective where it's a benefit for the end user, the buyer, the client, right? The customer, the student, what have you. But as you see, what we do on rinse and repeat in all of our businesses is, number one, right in the center of the screen, how to take your prospects from unaware to problem aware, which is a big thing. We've all seen probably the graph or the triangle or the pyramid where it shows like the top 6% are ready to buy now, 17% are browsing, are probably in the buying pocket, and 63% of your ideal buyers aren't even aware that they have the problem that you solve or that you offer the solution you offer or whatever that is. So bringing them from unaware to problem aware is a big step to be able to create your own customers and tap into an unsaturated market where you're not highly competing for the sale, where you are the solution, right? So What we like to do is identify the real problem, extract the pains, the desires, the obstacles, the common beliefs, and the steroids or attention grabbers in that market to put that into our copy, our messaging, our emails, our ads, our landing pages, etc., etc. Then we craft transitional messaging that's going to take those pains, desires, etc., and turn them into a messaging flow or script that is ultimately going to get people to convert, right, into a call booking, into your checkout page, whatever that looks like for your business. Then everything we're doing, there's constant testing and optimization, opening up that feedback loop, tweaking it to the market feedback, to the reps feedback on your team members feedback, really making data-driven decisions in your business. And guys, I'm not just saying that because one of my companies is a data company. I'm talking totally different from like our audience lab data, which is in-market, intent-based, first-party consumer or B2B data. I'm talking about data within your business. Looking at the metrics that matter, looking at the feedback, looking at the revenue, right? People will lie. We lie to ourselves as business owners, as creators, as experts, but what doesn't lie is the numbers, the bank account, the amount of new clients, the sales, the results. Those don't lie. So those are what need constant testing and optimization. One great example of that, before I kind of dive into what I want to cover on a little sidebar, I was talking with a business owner just probably, it was right around Thanksgiving, late November, early December, and he was telling me how much he knows his market, he knows his industry, he knows his messaging, and his creative is 100% dialed in, and this is what his audience wants to hear. And then we looked into the sales metrics, the conversions, the cost per lead, cost per acquisition, the overall revenue and clients, and it didn't jive, right? And I just had to point out to him, you know, it's great that you think you know your market this well, and sometimes that's a problem as a business owner. We almost know our market sometimes too well that we speak what we think the audience wants to hear when it's not necessarily always what they want to hear. And what I showed him is, hey, this guy's name was Dan. I was like, hey, Dan, you know, I appreciate that and what you're saying, but the data just doesn't support that. Why do you have less clients than the year prior? Why do you have less revenue? Why are we getting less conversions? Why are our ads profitability tanking instead of, you know, getting better or at least staying level? So all the metrics and the data and the revenue and the numbers in his business didn't jive. And ultimately we did a knowledge gap analysis and showed him out of his angles and what I came up with in doing a knowledge gap. I came up with about 8 angles to you know, knowledge gaps or angles to implement into his marketing and entry level messaging we can inject into the prospecting and outreach. Out of the 8 I came up with, he was only using and aware of 2 of them. So that just shows you right off the bat that, you know, sometimes whether it's us, whether it's our clients, we don't always know what we don't know, or we're just too into the business that we don't always see all of the relevant metrics and relevant aspects of the business that really tell us if we're on a success trajectory or if we're tailing downward. And the sooner we can identify those things and optimize and tweak and correct, the sooner we can get back, you know, on the positive trajectory. And then, you know, just to go into that, I know I spent a bit of time here on test and optimize. But what I really mean is once we test and we have winning campaigns, winning angles, winning hooks, winning ads, winning landing pages, we scale, drive more revenue to them, drive more traffic to them, put that messaging into multiple channels or platforms. Maybe I started with it with email or organic outreach. I tested it. It hits. I know it's a winner. Now I want to go throw some ad spend behind it. Or now I want to embed that into my email, my SMS, my organic, my ads, my landing page, etc. So we scale the winners, winning messaging, winning campaigns, winning creative, and we shelve and optimize and tweak the losing campaigns. And hey, why didn't this message work? Why didn't this angle work? Oh, okay, so I see, because we're going to a lower sophisticated market and we're trying to talk at a mid-sophistication level and then trying to book them in for a high ticket when these guys are only looking for low to mid ticket. All right, let me make that adjustment and tweak my offer, tweak my price point, whatever, right? But it gives me all the data I need to make decisions. So guys, I know first live stream of the year, and I know it gets confusing for some people because I do them in 2 different formats. When I have a guest on, I go right to my Zoom room and I invite you guys to join and participate. And when I'm just hosting one myself, teaching, talking, doing a lesson, a year-end review, you know, I stream live right to the group. So I don't always know how many people are watching live, and I know I always get more people on the recording or the replay. But what I like to do when I do these is if you guys are watching and you haven't done this yet, I'm going to go check right now, but I'm going to check back to this live stream in the group periodically for any comments. If you guys have any questions, anything you want me to go over in more depth, any of that stuff, feel free to say so, or anything you like. Oh, I do see a few comments. We got Daniel, we got Rebecca. Rebecca, again, you're right, and I'm right, but you seconded that. The numbers don't lie. They really don't. I don't concede. I guess all people lie at some point, right? But I think that the statement or the sentence rings true. Generally speaking, people lie, numbers don't. There's always outliers to that, right? JP chiming in, appreciate that, buddy. So guys, I'll come back and check that again here periodically. And that was kind of my intro, but let me start off with kind of lessons learned in 24. I always like to recap, right? And what I really want to cover in a very general sense is there's levels to this game, and we're all on different ones, right? You guys watching, Rebecca, Daniel, JP, whoever else, you guys are at different trajectories in your business with the amount of time you put into it, the price you charge, the offer you have, the amount of revenue you're doing, the goal you're hitting. Daniel, different with your expertise than JP and Rebecca, with what you offer and your expertise and who you work with. The level we're all at different levels, so there's levels to this, right? What you want to do is you want to find somebody that's already excelled well past your level in a similar or the same niche or industry and kind of reconstruct what they've done. I'm not saying copy and paste. That's never what I'm saying. But I'm saying follow their blueprint and really try to learn from them on expediting that learning curve. Because as I led off saying, there's a lot of trial and error in this game. Still, everything I do to an extent, there's some trial and error going on. Now, there's certain times I kind of know what's going to work, but even when I know, I don't really know until it does work, right? So even if I know something's going to work, I need validation on that. I need data on that. I need the market to solidify that, right? And kind of say that's true. So where I mean there's levels to this is one thing I always do is when I'm trying to get to another goal, and I'm going to talk about this in a little later segment, I try to find somebody that's higher up in the ladder than me, that's accomplished more, that's earning more, that's working with more clients, that's charging more, that has a better sales process, that converts at higher numbers. Whatever it is I'm really looking for, sometimes it's one of those specifically, sometimes it's a combination. I'm going to find that person, and I'm either going to open up my credit card and pay to learn what these learn. A lot of people are giving away a lot of great stuff on their free channels, right? On their YouTubes, on their social media, whatever, wherever they're podcasts, wherever they're going live streams like this. And I like to do the same. And that's probably my most rewarding result I get is when somebody goes through one of my free resources and says, hey, Ray, I just closed a deal. I just booked a call. I just got a 10K client off your free stuff. That fires me up more than anything. And I love to give away as much value as possible for free. Damn near all the value. I don't really hold back. Not now, there are certain things that only my paid clients get, or else I would be a hypocrite, right? If I gave away things that I told people, hey, only my high ticket or my private students get this, but now I go give it to a free audience. So obviously there's certain things that all of us as experts, service providers, coaches, consultants, agencies, whatever you do, that we kind of keep for our private audience, but not to say there's not a lot of high level information that we provide or other people that you might resonate with more, right? And I think that's important too. You might be watching this live stream, and sure, I would love for you to learn from me and buy from me ultimately, or work with me or whatever. But if there's someone else you resonate with more, or you think their system's better, or you just drive with them better, maybe that's who you want to learn from. And I'm not afraid to say so, because that's the way I operate. There's certain people that are way higher up than me that I just don't resonate and I just don't want to learn from. And not to say I can't learn from them, it just doesn't jive with me. I find the people that I relate to that have obviously been through my current situation and have excelled past that, and usually the people that have done so in either the fastest time or what I see as the most effective or efficient way to do so. So when I'm saying there's levels to this, it's like operate at your level right now and always be learning from those people that are a step or two ahead of you. And I wouldn't necessarily, and I highly recommend not going 10 steps up, right? If I'm at 10K months, I probably don't want to join Russell Brunson's $50,000 inner circle mastermind, which is mostly business owners doing 7 figures up a year that join that stuff. Like, it's just not where I want to be right now. Now, he might have something that's only one step up, and I'm not saying he doesn't, but to join somebody's like inner circle mastermind, that real high ticket back end, one-on-one access or unlimited access to said expert, I don't think is right for a lot of people until they are at the point where they're probably doing at minimum 6 figures a year and probably closer to 7. And that's going to be much, much more relevant, and you're going to get a lot more from that. I can almost guarantee you what Russell's talking about and teaching in those isn't really going to help that business owner at 10K months. It's almost going to be foreign and like, geez, that's miles away from where I'm at. Like, and it's almost more discouraging. So I always try to look who's only 1 or 2 steps up, and that should also be encouraging for anybody listening as an expert. Your marketplace, you only need to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of them to be able to help them. You don't need to be Russell Brunson. You don't need to be miles ahead of them. You don't need to be me. You don't need to be anyone else. You need to be you, and you need to just be a little better than them or 1 or 2 steps higher, because people just want to pay to get that one problem solved, that one goal attained, that one benefit that they're not currently getting, whatever that is. And if you can show them the clearest path to get there, and your system, program, product, offer, service is the fastest vehicle to get them from point A to point B. And again, that's why we always have these conversations and try to figure out what we're always assessing when we talk with prospects, right, guys? No matter how we say it or how many questions, we're always kind of doing, hey, man, where are you at? Where would you like to get? And what's been that biggest roadblock? Yes, then we might dive into it a little more, but that's where you can kind of get your tie down. So I'll give you a couple different examples. It could be, hey, Ray, I'm currently at 5 clients. I'm trying to get to 10 clients, and I think my roadblock is just myself, right? I'm doing all organic myself, and I'm tapped out. Okay, so that could be one. I'm going to give a few examples, and then I'll give the tie downs. The next guy could say, hey, Ray, I'm at 25K. I'm trying to get to 50K. And really, I think my problem now is I'm not utilizing automations and AI, and I'm still doing everything manually. So I kind of, self-imploded, roadblock, for lack of a better phrase, right? Or it could be, hey, Ray, I'm currently doing 7 jobs a month, and I'd like to be doing 14 jobs. And I think the biggest roadblock is I'm just doing local grassroots marketing, and I never really tapped into, social media ads or digital marketing. And I really want to learn that aspect, right? So then when I'm talking to that person later and I'm recommending suggestions or solutions, I would say, hey, JP, what if I could show you a system that in just a matter of weeks could get you from 4 to 8 clients, could get you from 25 to 50K, could get you from 7 to 14 jobs. Would that benefit you? Would you mind me sharing some information? Because I think based off what you said, it'd be beneficial, yes? Yeah, sure, Ray, that would be beneficial. I'd love to hear about a system that could get me from A to B in a short period of time. Cool, man. Well, what I'd recommend first is start off with this resource. This is going to give you a great understanding of how we've helped dozens and dozens of other service providers like yourself go from 25 to 50K. More specifically, book in a 15-minute call sometime on my calendar this week, and let's dive into how we can customize this into your business and your current objective and where you're at with your current budget, team, right? Let's really assess your business and see how this system can customize into your business plan. Does that sound fair? Would that be helpful? Right? So you're always coming from a place of service. You're always offering solutions. You're offering value, and you haven't pitched this person. You haven't asked for $1, and you shouldn't at this point. But when you can just have conversations like that, kind of really quickly tie them down to one result that they're looking for, assess where they're at, and if you can help them get that solution, right? I'm not saying go in and have these conversations and offer stuff to people if you can't. But if it's within your realm, your wheelhouse, and you feel like you're the best person to help this person, again, offer some resources, book them in for a quick little 15-minute call, and see what you can do. That on that 15-minute call, as you guys have seen in multiple of my trainings, and I have the script and the framework exactly how to do this, our primary objective is to, number one, dive a little more into the discovery phase of their business and figure out where they're at, where, just reiterate what you talked about in Messenger and go a little deeper. Build a bit of a personal connection and rapport. Make sure that they're a great fit for your product and service. Then the second part of a triage I always think is important is a financial pre-qualification, or what I call a soft yes. Hey, Rebecca, barring everything makes sense when we speak on Friday and go through the full demonstration, and if you see a clear path to get from 25 to 50K, would there be anything that would prevent you from investing and moving forward on that call when we speak Friday? Right? And then suss out objections right now on the triage call. You might find out finances, business partner, spouse, whatever. And then you can overcome that and set that up for the call so you don't get to the end of the sales call and then get those objections, right? And it also lets them know that on that call, if you see a clear path and you're both in agreement that, you guys see some synergy and can work together, you will be making an offer. So that way you're not hitting them out of the blue when you get to that sales call, right? So these are good little strategies and tips that you should be using within your messaging and your flows and your conversation with your market and your prospects to ultimately, get them further into your sales process, and the right people ultimately close deals and become paying clients. And then the fun part is the fulfillment and getting them results. And that's why we do what we do as service providers, business experts, etc. So that's kind of my spiel on that. Next, I want to talk about some of the goals that I made a priority here in 2025. And one big one is Audience Lab is obviously our business growing the fastest, doing the most revenue, and we have by far the most team members, and I manage and oversee that sales team. You guys probably know I do a lot of sales coaching and training with Sales Lab and training reps and getting them placed in offers. But managing our own internal team is obviously always a top priority for me. And a big goal I set at the beginning of 24, maybe I optimized, maybe it wasn't right from the beginning, but relatively early on in 2024, was get to consistent 100K months, just 100K months plus in new revenue. Now, we already have existing monthly recurring revenue, and that's what most of our offers are within that business. The goal was to get to consistent 100K months. And then as the year went on and I started seeing our MRR trajectory going up and I started to build out the right process, I made it a KPI to get to consistent 75K months in MRR. So 100K in new revenue each month, 75K in new monthly recurring means it's already on the books for the next month and the next month. And then obviously, when I talk about 2025 goals, we'll go from there. And we did hit that goal. We hit it very, very consistently, especially as the year went on and I did everything I talked about in my first segment here. We failed forward a lot. We tried and erred a lot of things. We made tweaks, feedback loop, talking to my team, talking to the market, making the tweaks we had to make with ad campaigns, ad spend, pre-qualifying, show rates, right? Every aspect that comes into that, and there's a lot of them. And really quickly, just to show you a couple examples. So what I'm going to bring up here, 1 minute, guys. Technical difficulties. I'm pretty sure I already had it up on the screen. I did here. Okay, cool. So what I want to show you here is just speaking of my goals, and I like to say numbers don't lie and the proof's in the pudding. So I can say I'm hitting all these goals, but I just want to show you, like, this is our Audience Lab Command Center spreadsheet 4, as you can see on the bottom where I'm kind of hovering my mouse and highlighted in blue. This is our closers tab. So what I want to really focus on is column 11 here. So we'll see September, we broke our 100K in monthly revenue, and we just came short of our 75K MRR. And that's right about where I started to hit that. Q4 going into September is really where we solidified this as like, hey, this is what we want to be hitting, right? October, over 100K, over 75K in MRR. November, we dipped a little low, and there was a couple of reasons for that, but it still wasn't too bad. And if we take this 4-month average, we still hit those goals. And then, as you'll see, December, we got over 100,000 and over 85,000, which actually specifically for December was my goal. I upped it from my kind of annual or Q4 KPI of 175K. Just knowing the trajectory we were on, I really thought our team could hit 100K plus and 85K plus. As I said in one of my posts, and just to show you, let's look at these numbers here real quick. 103,767 and 85,831. So just to show you this jives with all of our other tracking metrics or mechanisms or platforms. Here's Slack, the last day of the month for December, right? 103,767, 85,831. As I said, it took us to the last day of the month possible to hit this goal, but we did, and I was pretty confident our team could hit it. So when it comes to goal setting for me, I like to set lofty, ambitious goals, but definitely attainable and realistic, right? I'm not going to say, hey, we hit 100K and 75K respectively a month for 4 straight months. Now it's going to be 150K and 125K respectively. If I just did that jump that quickly because we've hit it for a few straight months, we'd be failing on our KPIs and we wouldn't be hitting them. And I know when the time to kind of scale up our goals and to keep them level for a few months until we either hire a new rep, until we up ad spend, right? Whatever. Till we have a newer, higher ticket product. There could be a number of ways to increase our overall revenue and overall MRR. And again, as you saw over the months, if I go back to that other spreadsheet, guys, let's just go back earlier in the year when we were struggling a little before we made all these optimizations, and let's show you when the months aren't great. Because everybody shows the unicorns and rainbows and sunshine, but August was not a great month. 63 isn't bad. 34 in MRR is pretty crappy for us. July was very similar, 70 and 35 respectively. June was decent because of a couple of big deals, but the MRR wasn't there. So my main focus as the year was going on, it wasn't that we weren't hitting our cash collected and overall revenue goals. We were hitting them pretty consistently, but our MRR was not where I wanted to be, and we wanted to make our main focus and our main revenue generator and our platform, most of our products, primarily MRR based products for a number of reasons. And we could talk about that anytime. Where did that? 1 minute here. For some reason, it's not letting me tweak back and forth anymore. Either way, not that big of a deal. But for some reason, I lost my little toggle bar because this stupid Facebook. Oh, duh. Idiot. All right, I'm not always super tech savvy. I didn't even see the hide button right there. So, as I was talking about, we did have some months that weren't great. At the beginning of the year, we actually started off with some stronger months, if I remember right. January, 98 and 59 respectively. February was just god-awful. March, we bounced back pretty nicely with 82K in revenue. April, May, you could see the trajectory. But again, as we really dialed stuff in, and it was, end of Q2 going into Q3, where I built out the whole roadmap and process, and you guys saw me talking about it in some of the live streams I was running in those months. It was a big focus of mine, and I was revamping a lot of stuff with our products, our sales team, our funnel, and not just me, but our whole team. But I was kind of overseeing that, so we could see the success we saw in September, October, November, December, and going into January here. So that was kind of a big deal for us. Last thing I'm going to cover here in 2024 review, and this is going a little longer than I thought because I'm a blabber and a talker, but I want to talk about some changes I saw in the internet landscape, and I think I subtly covered these throughout the year, and I think we've kind of seen some of these, so I can kind of gloss over this, and hopefully it's not super redundant, but I don't think I need to spend a lot of time on it. But some of the main changes I've seen was excuse me, guys, sophistication level in the market, I think, is highly increased. And you guys know within PDOCS, sophistication level of the market is something that we're always focusing on. It's a big driving factor in how I'm crafting my messaging. I'm going to talk to somebody that's not yet hit their first 10K month, much different than I'm talking to the guy doing 50K plus months. They're just two different conversations, and it's really night and day in the way we interact. So really understanding, number one, the whole market has got more sophisticated, but number two, really understand where you're talking to your clients and what sophistication level they're at. So if we're going into Facebook groups, is this like a high level group with big hitters and like high value posts, or is it just kind of generic starters and entry-level content, right? You got to craft your content and your posts in there different to get engagement in each of those two scenarios. Number two, I think that's really important, is the true value that a offer, an expert, an agency, a service, a coach is providing is really being tested now. I think in the years, let's just say 2020, probably even before that, but let's just say 2020 through 23 and going into 24, I think there was still a lot of people buying high ticket prices and not really getting the value, and it really put a bad mark on the market, right? I always say the biggest black cloud in the whole internet marketing industry as a whole is overpromising and under-delivering, and that got done a really lot in 2020 through 2023. Again, was probably happening a bit more before then, but I just kind of want to focus on 2020 on at this point. And then in 2024, I think that really self-corrected. People weren't getting bait and switch. They just stopped buying. They had a lot of red flags going up, and now only really the true value providers had really good years in 24, which I kind of like personally. I don't like the mediocre guy or the guy that delivers average results being able to crush it just because he figured out a good landing page and a good ad copy, which we saw for many years, but that's not really happening. Not to say it can't still. There's always outliers, but I think as a rule, we're not seeing that. And I think the most obvious change in 2024 and the most impactful aspect of trust and currency in the market is really authenticity and genuineness. I think that's never rang more true in 24 and still continuing into 25, which again, I love, because you guys know I'm never scripted. I am who I am, like it or hate it, whatever, but you're going to get authentic, unfiltered Ray, and that's what I show up as. And that's what I want from people that I interact with, I relate from, I buy from. I want that genuineness and that authenticity. I don't want some scripted, robotic individual that's just, copy and pasting something he learned from his 20K coach, and now he's selling it to all of his 10K clients, which a lot of this business was in 2020 through 2023. Consumer buy high ticket product, figure out how to loop that into his own verbiage and rebrand it, and now go sell it and say he's an expert in all that stuff. And that happened for quite a long time. Big offers, smaller offers, and we could dive into a lot of different people that done that. really quick, I'm going to check back for any comments or questions, and then I'm going to do a quick segment on some things to expect and look for here in 2025, and some of our goals going forward internally. My goals, our team goals, etc., etc. Let's go back into the PDOCS group to see if there was any other comments. Trust but verify. Yeah, exactly. Seems like people are just agreeing with or seconding what I say, which is great. No questions. Again, I'm a fast talker, but hopefully that's no questions because I'm explaining things thoroughly. At least that's how I look at it. But 2025, I'm going to start off with some goals. And goals are obviously to continue increasing our revenue in all of our businesses to an extent. It's weird to say that because right now, being a part and co-owner of 3 different brands and launching a 4th year this year that I haven't really dove into quite a lot yet. We'll be talking about that more maybe here in the next few minutes, but probably in future weeks. There are certain times where I pull off the gas or I'm not putting as much emphasis on other offers or other brands out of the 3 or 4 that I run. So when I say, the goal is to get consistent growth in revenue in all the brands, yes, it is, but I also have kind of sporadic focus. Like I might really emphasize for, 2 months or 2 quarters out of the year, really hammering this offer and this brand. And then I might just fulfill and work with clients and not keep promoting and not keep selling that offer for a couple months. Some have trends. Audience Lab, though, is pretty consistent. So you saw we got to consistent 100K months and 85K months, respectively, in those numbers by the end of 24. And I do have goals to get to that 150 and 125K mark, respectively. That's my first goal, and I plan to have that in consistent months by about Q3, say halfway through the year. Let's say June, July. That's when I expect our teams to be hitting that revenue threshold consistently. My guess is we'll probably break it once or twice before that, but I want to see it consistent for a few months before I make it kind of a standard KPI and a standard metric to operate off. And kind of, another one kind of ties into my next topic, what I'm investing in. So I'll kind of tier back to that with the goals of how to grow sales team. They kind of go a little hand in hand. But yes, number one is to keep growing our Audience Lab sales team and revenue and numbers and that business. I think more importantly within Audience Lab and PDOCS and Sales Lab and all of my brands, what I really put a big focus on in 24 and then going into 25 is the fulfillment, the support, the value delivered. I really am doubling down on that and really putting a lot more focus on the customer or the client journey and really trying to stand out in that aspect because I think a lot of people are getting, lumped into getting enrolled in the program, thinking you're getting all this access to somebody or all this support, and then it's just not what you thought, right? You ask for support and they're like, hey, go watch this recording or join a group call or whatever, but you're not really getting what you wanted in terms of the access, the fulfillment. So I'm focused on sales team. I'm focused on fulfillment. I'm focused on launching new offers. We're doing that all the time. For instance, Audience Lab, we have about 3 new packages and offers that we didn't even have 60 days ago. So that's always evolving and constant. And not just that, PDOCS, we have a couple of brand new offers hitting very, very soon. And of course, we have our flagship PDOCS client acquisition method, which still has continuous students and continuous enrollment. And again, our old flagship 6K program that people can now get for $50 a week is pretty much a no-brainer, especially with the level of content and support and the calls I do with those guys each week. That I still love running that program, so I don't even care about the money, which is why I charge $50 a week. I could probably still have it a high ticket 6K package and be lucrative and enroll clients, but I don't need to, and I just love running and teaching PDOCS, and it's just so embedded in everything I do in my businesses, everything I teach in almost every aspect, and it actually trickles into other parts of life, which again is a conversation for another day. It's kind of ironic. I'm actually going to make a note of that. That might actually be a really good topic for another day. How PDOCS and what I've learned transitions into personal life, relationships, et cetera, et cetera. That could be an interesting topic. Curious if people would be down to hear that. Again, fulfillment, new offers, new opportunities, which I just talked. I got something new launching this year and a new brand that most of you guys, almost everybody would be unfamiliar with. Focusing on, as I talked about with my first one, our sales team and leveling up my team. It's not all about me. And I have recently just jumped back into the sales process. I've probably taken 40 Audience Lab sales calls here in the last 2 weeks alone. I had a couple already today. I have more I got 5 on my calendar for tomorrow, 5 for Monday. I'm back in there manually taking calls and overseeing for a couple of reasons, but every time I hop back in the offer, it's temporary. I'm just getting feedback. I'm spelling. I'm kind of a spillover guy right now, to be honest. During the holiday weeks until the 12th, which is a couple days from now, we had a lot of guys traveling on vacation. So I have 5 full-time reps on Audience Lab, but when they have a lot of their daily hours blocked off or total days blocked off, and we're spending as much as we're spending on ad spend, we're getting a lot of people trying to book 8, 10, 12, 14 days out, which is no good. I know running sales offers, we want them booked within 72 business hours max. Usually sooner if possible, but no more than 3 business days. Once it goes beyond that, your show rates just plummet no matter what you do. And it's so anyway, by me jumping back in the offer, once I started to see people were having to book that far out, I was like, hey guys, like I know we got a lot of guys on vacation. I'm working a lot through the holidays. I'm choosing to work. I only took off a total of 36 hours for Christmas and New Year's combined. I was like, load me up, stack my calendar. These people want to talk to us. They want to hear from us, and we're spending money on ads to get these people, so we don't want to be wasting it. So I jumped back in, and that's part of what I think comes into also being a good team leader, is being able to jump back in and do the roles of your reps. I write copy. I jump on sales calls. I do outbound messaging. I still do organic outreach. Like everything I teach, I still hop in and do. So do I do all of them full time? No, I kind of do them out the day. I might be 2 sales calls and then an hour of organic and then, some team sessions and some client sessions, whatever. But my whole point is, I think, a lot of team members also want the ownership or the partners of the business or the managers to be able to relate and to be able to do the jobs that they do and still relate with them. And I think that's why I jive with my sales team very well. I'm not like just this trainer who oversees and manages and bitches and asks for KPIs. If we're having trouble, let me help you. Let me review your calls. Let me dive on someone. Let me get back in and see, okay, the quality's dipping or we're not getting enough bookings. Let me see everybody's calendar. Let me jump back in the rotation and see what's happening. So, not being afraid to get your hands dirty in any of your businesses and working with your team as opposed to just, barking orders, I think goes a long way. Not to say one is right or wrong or not either can work. It's just what I prefer and the leadership style that works better for me. Another thing I mentioned talking about, and this kind of ties into my goals, is where am I investing in my development still in 2025? I don't really talk about it a ton, and I don't get asked about it that much, but don't think I'm not, guys. Number one is constant reading. That's really important to me. If you guys see how I talk about structuring people's calendars, morning routines, and development or personal time, you always see, if you've ever seen my calendars, you always see time blocked off in the morning and the evening for reading. That's very important. I still invest, as I talked about. I find people that are a step or 2 ahead. And one thing that's my main focus here to hit those goals I talked about by mid-year, the consistent 150K new cash collected, 125 consistent MRR month. There's some tweaks and some adjustments I want to make to our sales team and our sales process. So I've just invested into a program, and I'm actually attending workshops and getting coaching from this person on a different, maybe not different, but on a different style of sales management and how to build sales teams that can ultimately be a little more lucrative and a little more efficient, right? Perhaps a lot more efficient, but what I know about it, I've done my research, I've studied. There's still parts that I don't fully have down, so I opened my credit card, I found who's doing it the best, and I paid them. And I'm attending a lot of those development sessions here. In January specifically, I'm devoting a lot of time to development and learning and training. So, I know a lot of you guys, when you go into a course or you opt into a lead magnet and say, yes, I'd love to see your SOP or your tutorial. A lot of you guys probably don't attend or go through a lot of them. Not to say, everybody doesn't. Some of you guys do. But, I'm not a guy that just says, hey, go watch tutorials and attend workshops. I still watch tutorials and attend workshops at what I'm focusing on. I still pay for my investment in development. Way back before, I ever really launched or when we first launched, my business partner and I, back at the time, invested $15,500 into a high-ticket coaching program. So we knew we had all the resources we would need to build out our offer and make sure we were doing it the right way. Would I go back and reinvest in that program again? Hell no, for that price and what I got. It was probably one of the worst programs I've ever bought and one of the more expensive, to be honest. I paid more for 2 other things in my life than $15,500, but at the time, that's when we were on a kind of a shoestring budget. We didn't have a lot going and we were just launching, so $15,500 was a big deal. Wasn't happy with my return on investment, but I still made it work. I took the 20% out of that program that resonated with me and that jived with me, and the other 80% I thought was sleazy, grimy, scammy, spammy, whatever word you want to use for it, just didn't vibe with me. I didn't use it. And that's another thing I say. When you guys are investing into anything, my courses, my programs, other people, whether it's a workshop, it's a course, it's a coaching program, it's consultant, you still have to do what's right for you. For instance, again, I say when people go through coaching programs, take what definitely applies to what you're working on now, what resonates with you, and implement it. Whereas I see some people join a coaching program, and I understand their mindset. Hey, I'm just going to do everything he said to a T so it works. Which, again, I see the mindset. I'm not saying there's something wrong with that, but also there's common sense. Just because somebody said to do it and it worked for them, if it doesn't jive with me, if it doesn't sound like me, like, why would I do it just because? Because something worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Now, you can follow the strategy and the framework and then adapt it and tweak it and use the PDOCS system and get feedback, optimize, study those PDOCS, et cetera, and tweak it, and it might work. But when you do any type of training program, paid or not paid, take out the one thing that really resonates with you, or the things that resonate with you, and utilize and implement those. And the things that sound, hell no, I would never do that, then don't do it, right? You're still a business owner yourself, no matter who is your coach or mentor or teacher or whatever. So I've had plenty of coaches and mentors. I follow some of what they say. Some of them I'm like, F off. I'm not doing that. That's just not for me. And I think everybody should have their own, I don't know what the right word is, I guess values or morals or ethics on how they operate, and not just say, okay, you said do it, so do it, right? And that's just something I learned and I've kind of always passed down. Last thing I'm going to touch on real quick before I dive back into the comments is to hit some of the goals I talked about. Obviously, one thing is investing and continuing to develop and know what I need next, and find who's done that and find the shortest learning curve to get there and the most efficient and effective way to do it. The other aspects that come into hitting my expectations and goals for these years are the actions and behaviors and tasks that I need to exemplify and do myself. So what is that? For me, number one is clear, concise communication between myself, my teams, my clients, my prospects. The more clear communication between everybody, the less problems that are going to have with chargebacks, people not staying around in your ecosystem long, people feel like they're not getting supported right, people feel like they're not getting the right education, whatever that could be. I think communication, and all these kind of tie into one another, but communication is a key element and an aspect in my next one, which is leadership. I'm always focusing on more leadership because as I'm growing more businesses, more brands, more offers, more team members. Audience Lab, now we're above 20 team members. So as you get more team members, you got to focus more on leadership and how to still connect with all those team members and not just feel like they're a number, but they're an actual person. So do I just meet with my team about business? No, I'm like, hey, what's going on with your son? What's going on in your personal life? How are your holidays? We still engage and interact, and we're friends as well as colleagues and work partners, right? Support, and that's part of leadership. Making sure I'm there to support my team both professionally and personally as needed. And then really one thing I focused on a lot in 2024 that's taking into 25 that I didn't mention in lessons learned is delegation and outsourcing, knowing the tasks and the time and how to execute and pull that off without any dip in results and overall metrics. So, communication, leadership, support, and delegation are big focuses on myself and the actions and the things I need to be doing daily to support my team, to support my businesses, and really to hit my goals and my expectations. So, guys, I did still get it in 45 minutes or less. Probably could have went longer, but probably could have went shorter as well, right? There's always both sides to that. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I'm not going to dive too much in, and I'm not really a huge self-promotion guy, so I'm not going to dive into buy my stuff here or hear about my new products and offers. You'll see them when you're ready, or you'll ask about them, or I'll drop the right promotional resources when the time is right. But these are about value. These are about learning lessons, and hopefully you guys that are a little behind me in my companies are picking up something from this, right? And I'm not saying there's not people that watch these or on these calls that are above me. There certainly can be, and there certainly are. There's people in my groups and students of mine that have done better than me, and I'm super happy for them. I love seeing when somebody crushes and breaks our 5 million annual revenue and they get 10 or 20 themselves. That's great. I don't get jealous. I don't get, that's a win for me. The better my clients do, and when they do better than me, I'm happy for them. There's a couple I've gone back and learned from a couple years after they were my students when they've excelled and leveled up in other areas. So, And as a byproduct of everything I talked about, I'd say the biggest thing that I am grateful for and that gives me the ability to succeed is my network, is my PDOCS students, is the people that, connect with me on Facebook or other social media platforms, is the people that, reach out to me when I post looking for help or looking for a new team member or looking for somebody to be a new expert guest. I get a lot of collaboration and a lot of love from the people that I've taught over the years, that I've worked with, that I've conversed with, collaborated with, and that's what this is about always. Business is about people, and people are about building the right relationships and the right foundations. So if you can build relationships on good foundations and network with people, as a byproduct, your business is going to grow just without even focusing on it. And then when we focus on it, it's going to grow even more and more. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to dive back in one more time to see if there was any other questions or comments before I log off for the day. And guys, really looking forward to next Thursday. Again, keep your eyes peeled for my post on Monday or Tuesday, talking a bit more about our expert guest, what we're going to cover. And again, I think it's going to be a really good taste of some of the high caliber talent and expertise I'm going to be trying to bring to you guys this year and really bring to me, right? I like when I have somebody on that's fascinating to me, that, has a different expertise than me, that's got better results than me. I'm learning, but we're also trying to drop things that you guys can take and be like, oh, shoot, that one nugget right there is going to change exactly how I do my outreach this week. Or that one nugget right there told me a whole nother channel or platform that I never even thought about that my ideal audience is on. So, again, we're just here on these live streams to drop straight value and try to give you guys, the best bang for your buck. Even though it's no buck, it's free. But awesome, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your comments. If anybody, has any questions on anything I covered or wants me to discuss any of those kind of topics, I went over 6 or 8 main points here in more depth. Happy to do so in another episode. We'll see you guys next Thursday if I don't hear from you sooner, and have a great rest of your week, everybody.